There are two things that happened in my life that made me truly have to change. And I bet many of you also have similar experiences because these are the things that causes transformation. And I didn't really understand it until one time I was reading, oh my heavens, I can't think what book it is, but I'm gonna explain it to you and you guys are gonna be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So the first thing was getting married. And when you get married, you introduce this other person in your life, and suddenly you can't just make decisions for yourself because the decisions that you are making also affect this other person. So that was transformation number one. I really had to change a lot in order to be with this other person. I think that's generally the case with marriage. There's lots of compromise in it, right? And we have to make changes to make it all work. The second time that I experienced real change is when I had my first child. Now there was this little human being that I was responsible for, right? And suddenly my life changed. The way I went about it was different. The physical atmosphere around me changed. Suddenly there were diapers and bottles and all of these different things, okay? I would love for you to think on maybe one, if not two things in your life that caused you dramatic change. What was it that caused you dramatic change? And the thing that got me thinking about this is I had read this book and now I can't even remember the name of it because it's been a while. But one of the things that they talked about, and it was so memorable to me, was that there are algorithms by many of the very big chains that can determine if they know, based on the things you're buying, if you have a change happening in your life. Interesting, right? In fact, there was even a story where like a guy got a very specific coupon set for a new baby. And he went to Target and was like, why are you sending this to me? There's gonna be no new baby at my house. And that's how he found out his teenage daughter was pregnant. So it wasn't like the happiest situation, but based on the things she had been buying at Target, Target knew, right, exactly, what was happening. Now, I don't know that they're as straightforward in the coupon. I've heard that they now mix up the coupons. I don't know if it's true or not, so that you're just attracted to certain ones. But I do think it's true that based on our buying behaviors, we can tell when change has happened in our lives. And I think, and they always say that the biggest changes that especially stores and retailers want to come after is if you get married and if you have a child. Makes a lot of sense, right? When you get married, you suddenly have to have gear for the two of you. Your lives are different. You are maybe cooking in more. I don't know. When you have a child, suddenly there's baby gear and formula and diapers and other things that you would not normally buy if you didn't have a child, right? So what are the things in your life that caused you to change? What made you change? Now, this is one of the reasons, and I talk about Design Suite often. Hopefully you guys hear me talk about it or drop information about it a little bit, but this is one of the reasons I created my program. Because what happens is when you introduce someone into your life and you start doing what they tell you to do because they've done it before, what happens? We create real change, right? Just like we introduce another person through marriage or a partnership, and then there's real change because suddenly you've got to compromise and start thinking about the world a little differently. That happens also in a program. And we've done that specifically in our program. We've tried to incite change. And not every program does this, or if you're just taking a DIY course and maybe you're with some pods or little groups, it's not going to be the same thing as what I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about is meaningful, long-term change, okay? Another time where they say this big transformational change happens is in college, right? It's a 4-year, almost like, not really gap is not what I'd call it, but it's like this interesting time period where people are going from teenagers to young adults. And there's a transformation time during that period that can affect a lot of your life in the future years to come. And one of the things that we knew that we could do in our program is incite change that made sense. And the only way we could do that is by treating it a little bit more like a college program. Since I'm from academia, I decided I wanted to do that. So giving a lot of coursework, lots of office hours, talking to designers and trying to build that camaraderie that exists in college. But then even more than that, being in your life for a very long period of time. So our program is a year long for a reason, because then we are in someone's life for a very long time, whether it's myself, whether it's my design team, whether it's my Etsy coach. We're doing things to change your life because you get all these little aha moments over a period of a year. You make real change and transformation. And I just like going back to thinking about when I first got married in particular, and suddenly like I thought I had planned my summer, but it was not planned because my husband had not. He's much more go with the flow, spontaneous, and he hadn't planned his summer. And suddenly there was, a butting of heads about what was going to happen that summer. And I think that is true. Even in my program, I feel like sometimes I butt heads with some of my designers when I'm like, listen, guys, this is the thing you really, really have to do. But the nice thing is, by having that kind of confrontation, what happens, you guys? Change happens, because then we start thinking about things different. We start behaving different. We start prioritizing differently. It's kind of like having a university professor, which is a little bit better of an analogy than like with your partner. But I'm thinking about, when I was a professor and I had, one of my students come up to me and say, why did I get a C on this? Well, it wasn't up to par, and here are the reasons why. And we go through it and look at it, and then they would see, oh my gosh, I really could have done better. And when they looked around the room, they realized, oh, they could have done better, right? So what happens? The next time they turn in a project, it's amazing and astoundingly better. Why? Because we butt heads a little bit, but I said, this is what needs to be done, okay? If you do these things, this will be a substantially better design, right? And sometimes when we just go around and ask our friends or all the people that we love, if our design work is good, they're all gonna tell us it's great, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's so amazing, we should try to sell that. Sometimes we aren't getting the real picture of our artwork. And we need someone who can tell us that's good enough, move on. Or, you know what, you can fix a couple of these things and then it's ready to go. Or let's change the colors and we'll move on from there. And some of my designers say I'm harder on some more than others. It depends on where you are in the process. I tend to be nitpicky, especially with my really good designers. I will get kind of into the nits and be like, move that over and fix that font, and can we do something with that Y? But a lot of that has to do with just becoming a great designer, right? I would rather someone tell me now, especially in my design business, if something doesn't look right, if it doesn't look good, if it's not ready to go. I need them to tell me now so I can make that correction, so moving forward, I never make that mistake again. And that's how we create real change, especially as designers who want to become great designers. I think there are a lot of people out there who call themselves designers that are okay designers. They're just okay, all right? There's nothing wrong with their work. It's just okay. What I want you to do is become a great designer. And great designers are profitable, and they're getting better every day and designing the best stuff and getting the best deals. That's what becoming a great designer is all about. And if that is something that you want and you're very interested in Design Suite, I really recommend you go check out my free workshop. I think it's actually carinagardnercourses.com/free training. So go look that up, carinagardnercourses.com/free training. And you can learn a little bit about Design Suite in that free workshop. You also learn some other things, which will be really great and very important for you to learn. Okay, so back to these big transformational change. Now, here's the thing. Some of you are thinking, but I don't want transformational change. I like my life where it is. hey, if you like your life where it is and you feel happy about it, stay there. That's okay. That's an okay thing. But if you're here because you're like, I want the big dream, I want the big contract, I want to become an extraordinary designer, I want to do freelance, I want to, whatever it is. Recently, we finished up a project for a gymnastics company, one of my designers and I, and it was a big 40-foot by 8-foot mural. It was a cool and crazy several months project, okay? And if you're striving for that, for something extraordinary, then we do need transformational change, because whatever you're doing today isn't enough, okay? What you got to do tomorrow has to be more, okay? And if we can do more, we can become great designers. And I am all about teaching people how to not only become profitable, but become great designers, because part of becoming, those two things go together. Being a great designer is being a profitable designer. Those two things go together, okay? And you have it in you. You're totally worthy of it. It's just whether you're willing to do that, whether you're willing to create transformational change for yourself. And there are some things we choose, like getting married or having a child or going to college. These are big transformational changes that many of us experience in our life. Not all of us, but we'll experience maybe a piece of that. But if we want to create transformation, sometimes we have to force it. And some of the best business owners I know, smartest people I know, create forced change all the time. And that is why they're becoming better at what they do, smarter, more profitable. It's because they're creating forced change. And one of the ways I know that you can do that is by joining a program. I myself did it, changed my entire life when I joined a program, and bought some courses, changed my life, made me better, smarter, make better decisions about what I was doing, right? That's our goal when we do those kinds of things. Now, there are lots of other ways you can create forced change. You just have to find them and you have to make them. When we do nothing and we have no stakes, then we won't make any kind of changes. All right, guys, that was fun to talk to you today. Holy cow, maybe I share too much. Having that first baby, that was a doozy, you guys. That was, especially back then when I liked to sleep in, that was like a 4 a.m. wake up every single morning, and that felt like real change. All right, guys, can't wait to see you. If you want to go grab that free training, it's at carinagardnercourses.com/free training. And hopefully, like, the whole point of this podcast is for you to feel like you can do something. You can do something about your life. You get to be in charge of becoming a designer. You need to make some changes in order to make yourself profitable. And my goal is to help you do that here. All right, see you guys. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.